the largest archaeological discovery in Saqqara, Egypt. The mission uncovered three burial wells at different depths, ranging between 2 and 12 meters inside them. 59 colored wooden coffins, closed, stacked on top of each other. The Egyptian Minister of Tourism and Antiques, Khalid Al-Anani, announced today, Saturday, the details of new archaeological discovery in the Saqqara region, which the excavation of the Egyptian mission reached, where 27 colored coffins were discovered that had not been opened for 2,500 years. The mission uncovered three burial wells at different depths ranging from 10 to 12 meters inside them. 59 colored wooden coffins closed, stacked on top of each other. The Egyptian minister said that 3 wells containing 13 coffins were uncovered, and then another 14 coffins were uncovered, bringing the total number of coffins discovered to date to 59, pointing out that the discovery is not over yet. We found layers of coffins, which will be announced later. Al-Anani explained that the coffins that were found are in a good state of preservation and are still preserving their original colors, indicating that initial studies on them indicated that they date back to the 26th family era and that they belong to a group of priests, senior statesmen, and prominent figure in society, announcing that these coffins will be transferred to the Grand Egyptian Museum, is displayed in the hall opposite the hall dedicated to the display of the Asasif cache, which was found by the Egyptian Archaeological Mission in 2019 in Luxor, where about 32 closed coffins of the 22 priests and of the family were uncovered. He explained that this discovery also included dozens of statues, not only coffins, including a bronze statue, which is considered one of the most wonderful as possible. He also explained that the next few weeks will witness the opening of a number of archaeological projects, including the museums of Sharm el-Sheikh, Kafr el-Sheikh, the administrative capital, and the royal vehicles before the end of this year. And the area where this discovery was found in the cemetery of senior statesmen in Saqqara, in which the sacred cemetery of cats, animals, and birds were found, as well as the large discovery of the tomb of Wahtye, one of the priestess of the beautiful 5th dynasty, which was praised by the whole world. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. In November 2018, it was announced that the tomb of Wahtye has been found at the Saqqara necropolis. Inside the tomb were reliefs of Wahtye, his wife, and his mother, and 4 children. It contains 4 shafts and was built at 2415-2405 BC. Wahtye and his family are buried, but not all of them in wooden coffin. The tomb has an inscription about Wahtye. Wahtye, purified priest to the king, overseer of the divine state, overseer of the sacred boot, revered with the great god Wahtye. And here is the whole full story of Wahtye. If you were an archaeologist working to uncover the many secrets of ancient Egypt, we can say that finding a tomb perfectly preserved over the centuries would mean that you have struck gold. At the same time, the chances of this happening are quite slim. So, imagine the shock that a team of experts got when in 2018 they discovered a site that had never been looted for more than 4,000 years. In this video, we will discuss with you the findings as well as everything about wahtye. Who was wahtye? During the 5th dynasty of Egypt, there was a man who worked as a high-ranking priest under King Nefertari Kaki. He was wahtye, and the tomb that the Egyptian archaeologist discovered a few years age belongs to him. According to hieroglyphs found inside, he had a family that consisted of his mother, Mertemin, his wife, Waribtah, and his 4 sons, 3 sons and a daughter. Ref with colorful portrayals of their life. The tomb consists of 5 shafts and more than 50 statues. It was built somewhere in 2415-2405 BC in Saqqara necropolis that lies to south of Cairo. It's also revealed that there is an inscription that reads wahtye, purified priest to the king, overseer of the divine estate, overseer of the sacred boot, revered with the great god wahtye. Although he was not a part of the project, Aidan Donson, an Egyptologist at the University of Bristol, spoke about the site to National Geographic. He said, "What we have is a rock-cut tomb chapel." He also said that the rest of the decoration is made up of scenes intended to magically recreate the environment in the next world, in particular the production of food to sustain the dead for eternity, and their recipe of offering. Notably, wahtye was also described as an egotist by Nabil, one half of the dio that was translating the hieroglyphs. Another fascinating aspect of the find was that the bones from the tomb presumably belonged to the priestess aforementioned family members. Furthermore, the opulent walls depict elegant and revealing portrayals of his life, and the multiple artifacts retrieved from the site also attest to his status. However, the reality could have been quite different, and we discuss the possibility of this in the following section. Wahtye's cause of death. How did he die? Despite the impressive position, the archaeological evidence paints a very different story about wahtye. First off, Nermin and Nabil noted that wahtye's name had been overwritten over someone else on the wall. Secondly, given the massive carving of a man and a woman, one would think his wife would feature heavily in the hieroglyphs. However, to their surprise, it's the mother's name that makes frequent appearances. After deliberating over this information, they came up with some rather fascinating theories as to what could have transpired. It could be possible that wahtye stole the tomb from his brother, although the sibling name appears nowhere on the walls. There is a poem that has been dedicated to his spirit, which the experts think could be a form of absolution for wahtye. The archaeologists also found some mummies that had been buried. Then the concept of the field of reeds is discussed. It's supposed to be this beautiful paradise where the dead could continue to live eternally if they prove themselves as virtuous to Osiris, the god of death and resurrection. So Nermeen and Nabil hypothesized that wahtye felt confident about reaching the ultimate afterlife destination with this personal form of penance. According to Amira Shaheen, a professor of rheumatology at Cairo University, wahtye suffered a lot after the death of his children. She noted that his bones were aligned irregularly and described the supposedly 35 years old as a delicate man. Furthermore, it seemed as though he was suffering from a form of anemia, much like his mother. However, the academic soon felt that it could have been malaria that wiped out his entire family. After all, the bones of the offspring revealed that they were quite young. In fact, the youngest seemed to be just 6 when he died. It was a bit appalling for the team of archaeologists when they discovered that a man of wahtye stature had been buried in a simple wooden coffin. Also, the fact that the first ever mummified lion cub was also found on premises, and you would understand why they were surprised. After all, 55 statues were found in the site. This practice was usually reserved for those of royal blood. So, if Amira is actually able to prove her theory, then wahtye and his apparent family will become the first ever documented case of malaria in the world. Two lion cub mummies discovered in Egypt for the first time. Two mummified lions dating back about 2,600 years have been discovered in a tomb full of cats' statues and cats' mummies in Saqqara. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiques announced at a press conference. This is the first time that a complete mummy of a lion or lion cub has been found in Egypt, said Mustafa Waziri, the General Secretary of Egypt's Sovereign Council of Antiquities, who led the team that made the discovery. Analysis is ongoing, but it appears the lions are fairly small, about 3 feet, just under 1 meter in length, Waziri said, suggesting that they were not fully grown when they died. 3 other mummies that belonged to large cats, the exact species is unclear, were found near the 2 lions. These 3 other mummies could belong to leopards, cheetah, or other forms of big cats. About 20 mummies of smaller cats were also found near the lion cubs. About 100 statues and statues were found near the burials, many of which depict cats. The cats' statues are made of stone, wood, or metal, and most of them well painted, well decorated, and some were inlaid with gold, Waziri said. A small ebony statue of the goddess Nis was also found within the tomb, a discovery that helps archaeologists determine the tomb's date, said Khalid Al-Amani, Egypt's Minister of Antiquities. Nis was the goddess of the city of Sais, which was the capital of Egypt during the 26th dynasty. a massive scarab-shaped artifact that appears to be more than a foot in diameter was also found in the tomb. Scarab-shaped artifacts are frequently found in Egypt and were used as seals, amulets, and jewelry. This particular scarab artifact might be the largest example ever found in Egypt, the archaeological site. Catty locations. The area of Saqqara where the tomb was discovered seems to be a cat hotspot, so to speak. Previous archaeological digs in the area have uncovered the animals of cat mummies and cat statues. And in 2004, a French team found the partial remains of a lion skeleton. It seems that around 2,600 years ago, the area was a place of commemoration for the Egyptian cat goddess Bastet and her son, the lion god Mummies. While cats dominate this part of Saqqara, they do not rule exclusively, as previous archaeological excavations in the area have found mummies of other animals, such as birds or deer. In other parts of Saqqara, many other types of archaeological remains can be found, including Egypt's first pyramid, a step pyramid built by Dosai, a pharaoh who ruled more than 4,600 years ago. It's the oldest pyramid constructed in Egypt. Recently, several other interesting archaeological discoveries have been made at Saqqara, including a 2,000-year-old Kata tomb containing a burial of worthy woman named Demetria. Recent discoveries also include a 2,500-year-old silver face mask gilded with gold and a 4,400-year-old tomb built for divine inspector named wahtye. Ancient Egyptian temple reveals previously unknown star constellation. One constellation is called Abidu and Ra, or the Keys of Ra. The restoration of a soot-filled ancient Egyptian temple has revealed the previously unknown names of ancient Egyptian constellations, according to experts in Germany and Egypt. The restoration has also uncovered the gorgeous original colors the ancient Egyptian painted the 2,000-year-old temple. As workers in Egypt removed soot and dirt from the temple, sometimes with a mixture of alcohol and distilled water, the original painted carving and hieroglyphics beneath are so vibrant it looks like it was painted yesterday. Project leader Christian Leeds, the professor of Egyptology at the University of Tübingen in Germany, told Life Science, "But we are not rebuilding anything, we are just removing the soot." During the restoration, researchers cleaned ancient curved seas depicting the constellation, including the Big Dipper known as Nisirtu and Orion known as Sar. They also found inscriptions about previously unknown constellations, including one called Abidu and Ra, or the Keys of Ra, who is the ancient Egyptian sun deity, Leeds said. However, without an image to accompany these descriptions, there are no way to know which stars in the night sky they describe, he said. The first modern description of the geographic Roman temple, known as the Temple of Isna, dates to 1589, when a Venetian trader visited Egypt and described it. According to the UCLA Encyclopedia of Egyptology. The town of Isna, about 40 miles south of the ancient capital of Luxor, used to have more temples, but two were quarried during the industrialization of Egypt. While the largest one, the Temple of Isna, was used to store cotton during the first half of the 19th century. Let's say it. The sanctuary turned storage facility was likely valued for its location in the city center. People began building houses and shacks directly against some of its walls, and postcards from the 19th and 20th centuries show it surrounded by rubble. Decades of neglect left the temple filthy, covered in soot and bird droppings. Today, only the vestibule is left. The large sandstone structure is supported by 24 columns and also has 18 freestanding columns decorated with painted carving of plants. But it would have been dwarfed by the actual temple, built under Roman Emperor Claudius. It's a mystery what happened to this part of the temple. It was already gone by the time. The Venetian trader described it in the 16th century. The temple's construction and decoration, which include astronomical designs on the ceiling, likely took 200 years, let's say it. During the latest restoration, researchers discovered new inscriptions, including those of the unknown constellations. It's noted that when the ancient Egyptians decorated the temple, they would first draw a design in black ink, then have an artisan carve the relief, and then have a painter paint the relief. On the astronomical ceiling, many of the inscriptions were drawn in ink, but not carved or painted. They were previously undetected under the soot and are now being exposed piece by piece. The project, which began in 2018, is a collaboration between the Institute of Ancient Near Eastern Studies and the University of Tübingen and the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. A long-lost Egyptian artifact has been found in a cigar box in Aberdeen, and it is hoped it could shed new light on the Great Pyramid. The chance discovery was made by a member of staff at the University of Aberdeen during a collection review. The small fragment of 5,000 years old wood, which is now in several pieces, is said to be hugely significant. The engineer Wayne Mann Dixon originally discovered it among items inside the pyramid's queen chamber in 1872. The piece of cedar, which it's believed may have been used during the pyramid's construction, was donated to the university in 1946, but then could not be located. Abir El-Adani found it while conducting a review of items housed in the university's Asia collection. Abir, who is originally from Egypt and spent 10 years working in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, cross-referenced it with other records hidden in plain sight. Once I logged into the numbers in our Egypt records, I instantly knew what it was and that it had effectively been hidden in a plain sight in the wrong collection, she said. I am an archaeologist and have worked on decks in Egypt, but I never imagined it would be here, in northeast Scotland, that I would find something so important to the heritage of my own country. It may be just a small fragment of wood, which is now in several pieces, but it's hugely significant given that it was one of only 3 items ever to be recovered from inside the Great Pyramid. 2 other items found by Wayne Dixon, a ball and a hook, are now housed in the British Museum, but the wood was missing. The university's collection are vast, running to hundreds of thousands of items, so looking for it has been like finding a needle in a haystack, Abir added. I couldn't believe it. COVID restrictions delayed the dating of the rediscovered cedar fragment. Results have currently been returned and show that the wood can be dated to somewhere in the period 3348 to 3094 BC. Quite a revelation. This is said to support the theory that, whatever their use, the so-called Dixon relics were original to the construction of the Great Pyramid, and not later artifacts left behind by those exploring the chambers. But the dating is also surprising, as historical records have dated the pyramid itself to a period about 500 years later. Neil Curtis, head of museums and special collections at the University of Aberdeen, said, finding the missing Dixon relic was a surprise, but the carbon dating has also been quite a revelation. It's even older than we had imagined. This may be because the date relates to the age of the wood, maybe from the center of a long living tree. Alternatively, it could be because of the rarity of trees in ancient Egypt, which means that wood was scarce, treasured, and recycled or cared for over many years, he added. It will now be for scholars to debate its use and whether it was deposited as happened later during the New Kingdom, when pharaohs tried to emphasize continuity with the past by having antiques buried with them. The discovery will certainly reignite interest in the Dixon relics and how they can shed light on the Great Pyramid. Valley of the Golden Mummies. The story dates back to the beginning of 1999. Renowned archaeologist Zahi Hawass and his archaeological expedition discovered in Bahariya Oasis in the Western Desert, 385 kilometers from Cairo, one of the most important archaeological discoveries in the 20th century that amazed the whole world, the Valley of the Golden Mummies. The discovery unveiled a huge number of golden mummies, which convinced Hawass that this valley, a large spatial area that takes a long time of organized excavation work, is definitely filled with mummies. Only 250 mummies were discovered. The discovered mummies dates back to the 1st and the 2nd centuries AD, when Egypt was under the Roman rule. These discovered mummies show the continuity of the Egyptian religion in this period, despite the existence of the beliefs of the Greek and Roman ruling class, which were influenced by the ancient Egyptian religion. Most of the discovered mummies have gilded masks and chests and are decorated with hieroglyphic inscriptions and religious drawings. Valley of the Golden Mummies is a vast Roman Egypt necropolis recently discovered in the Bahariya Oasis, southeast of Cairo. Teams of archaeologists who were excavating the tombs have estimated that the site could contain as many as 10,000 mummies, thereby making it one of the biggest discoveries ever made in Egypt. The Golden Mummies Museum does not exactly look like anything striking from the outside, but it's what the museum houses that is most important. So how to make the most of the museum? When you visit the museum, you will get to see 10 of the mummies that were found in the Valley of the Golden Mummies. A few of the important things to note about the mummies would be that 2 of them are children. They include painted faces, they are still intact, and they often include Greek characters painted on them, which dates them specifically. This shows that there were Greeks living in the area and during the Hellenic era. When you visit the Valley of the Golden Mummies, the best way to enjoy it would be to pay for a combined visit to the museum, as well as to the burial plain where the mummies were found. If you take a private Egypt desert tour or trek, your tour guide will be a local Bedouin who can explain everything to you in English. Additionally, choosing a tour guide will make it easier for you to find the 2 sites, which are a bit off the beaten path. The name of the mummies. One interesting note would be the name of the mummies. They are collectively referred to as the Golden Mummies, since many of them are housed in gilded sarcophages, giving them a very distinctive look. The excavation at the Valley of the Golden Mummies has been stopped because too many of the mummies and too much of the surrounding structure was being destroyed. Visiting the mummy may be your only chance to see these mummies, which are extremely significant in history. Another important note to make is that you are not allowed to take pictures in the museum. The flash from cameras can actually deteriorate the delicate painting that adorns the sarcophage and the mummies. Please respect these historical finds by leaving your camera turned off. The Bahariya Oasis is located in the western desert of Egypt and is the closest of the oases to the city of Cairo. If you wish to visit the other oases in the area, then this one is a good place to start since the others can easily be reached from here. Please like and subscribe to see more from us. Thank you. Minister of Tourism and Antiquities Khalid Al-Anani, accompanied by former Minister of Antiquities Zahi Hawass and Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities Mustafa Al-Waziri, inspected work being done by an Egyptian archaeological mission excavating the pyramid of King Titi I in the Saqqara area. The mission, led by Hawass, uncovered burial wells with coffin and other major archaeological findings from the modern dynasty era. Hawass confirmed that the discovery will shed light on part of the history of Saqqara, about which little is known so far. The discovery will also unveil the secrets of the symmetry of the 18th and 19th dynasties. Anani thanked Hawass and his team for the effort they were making and expressed his pride that the discovery was made by Egyptian archaeologists. Back in November, Anani unveiled details of the latest archaeological discovery in the Saqqara area, announced it in the presence of public figures and representatives from local and international media. The archaeological discovery follows from finding announced on October 3rd, extracted from the well that Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli descended about 1 month ago.